It's time to critique people. Hello guys, one more time and welcome to Ring Royalty. My name is Alexis, as you already know, and today we're going to continue with the saga of everything wrong with. Today I have a very interesting topic, so without any further to say, let's start with the second edition of this series, and it would be everything wrong with Becky Lynch Raw Women's Championship reign. Unlike Nikki Bella's Divas Championship reign that I mentioned in the first video of this series, I'm gonna leave over there the link. I think this championship reign wasn't as terrible, but it had ups and downs, and we're here to talk about the downs. Remember that this is not against Becky Lynch, and one more time, I'm not going to invent things, I'm going to spill the tea and give you some facts that for me made this championship reign kind of like a flop, or maybe flop at some point. And the first reason I'm going to give is the botched WrestleMania ending. So as we know, Becky Lynch won the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championship in the winner-take-all triple threat match of WrestleMania against Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair, a historic match because it's the first time women main evented Mania. However, the ending was a mess. And at first people thought it would be a storyline, as Ronda's shoulders were not really on the mat when the referee was counting the 1, 2, 3, and we thought that maybe they were going to extend the feud between Ronda and Becky, but then Ronda left, so it was reported that it was a botch, and a lot of people were confused in that moment. I think it took away from the biggest victory in Becky Lynch's career. And even though Becky Lynch was so huge back then, and a lot of people, including myself, were very excited to see her at the top of the mountain, but I believe that this botch made the match lose a lot of momentum and a lot of importance when it comes to the historic element, because it was the first time women main evented WrestleMania, and you have an ending like this, and it didn't get, of course, an immediate pop because fans didn't even know if she actually won or not. So I think this is the first detail that took away from a monumental WrestleMania moment. The second fact that I'm going to talk about, and definitely is something important, is Becky Lynch's feud with Lacey Evans. As we all know, Lacey Evans basically was brought to the main roster to be in a runway, just walking up and down the ramp for months until she finally punched Becky in the face after she became the double champion, Becky Two Belts. This could have been an amazing experience because we had a newcomer against Becky. However, it didn't turn out that well. Becky was so huge and Lacey was basically unknown for most of the people that didn't watch NXT. So for that reason, I think it was obvious that Lacey was not going to win the championship. The thing was that they didn't really have enough chemistry in the ring to put on good matches, and I have no idea why WWE decided to extend this feud for many months. Lacey Evans had a women's championship opportunity at Money in the Bank, then another one at Stomping Grounds, and then the intergender Extreme Rules tag team match at Extreme Rules. It was an amazing match when the four of them were inside the ring, but it didn't really make up for the two pretty standard or not important singles matches that they had in previous pay-per-views, and the lack of chemistry between Lacey and Becky even raised a red flag for lots of fans. If Becky could actually carry a match, she was considered the veteran of that rivalry. Then again, the chemistry was so off that some people decided to blame Becky that she couldn't carry the match, and that's why Lacey, who was more inexperienced, looked bad. I think that's pretty unfair, but that's what I heard. I think this wouldn't have been that big of a deal if they didn't stretch the feud for so long. It hurt Becky Lynch's momentum a lot. She was the man, but when she reached the top of the mountain, I feel like feuding with Lacey didn't elevate her character, didn't elevate Lacey, so it didn't benefit either of them, and that was something that was felt because the magic of the man was slowly fading away. Moving on to the third point, her small rivalry against Natalya and later her feud with Sasha Banks made Becky elevate her game once again and be the superstar that we want her to be. However, after the monumental Hell in a Cell match against Sasha Banks, which I think Sasha should have won, match that happened the 6th of October of 2019 was the last time Becky Lynch defended the title until the Royal Rumble of 2020, where she faced Asuka. And that is my point, the lack of championship defenses. From Hell in a Cell 2019 to the Royal Rumble 2020, Becky Lynch didn't defend the Raw Women's Championship once. So that means Becky Lynch was the Raw Women's Champion, but for 3.5 months, she never put it on the line. Where the hell was that 30-day clause thing that champions have to defend their championship, or therefore they would relinquish it? I have no idea. And the reason for this is merely booking, because they got Becky stuck in a partnership with Charlotte Flair to challenge the Kabuki Warriors for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. Once again, I have no idea why WWE always have this infatuation of making the singles and tag championship being involved in the same rivalry. I have no idea why. Instead of elevating different women, they try to focus all the championships in only 3 or 4 people. For me, it was pointless that Becky Lynch and Charlotte, who didn't like each other on storyline, were trying to become WWE Women's Tag Team Champions against the Kabuki Warriors, and that feud lasted for a couple months because it took away opportunities from lots of people. Not only Becky did not defend the singles championship, but at the same time a lot of women in the back were sitting there without doing anything, such as Natalya, the Iconics. They had absolutely nothing to do when all the championships were in the same rivalry. I don't understand why WWE did that, and they're still doing it as of today with the situation between Shayna, Nia, Lana, and Asuka. All the championships are part of the same storyline, and I'm not a fan of that, to be honest. So I think this hurt Becky, because how can you be a credible champion without having championship matches? I mean, title defenses are the monumental matches that people remember from a title reign, but if you don't have them for 3.5 months, that's obviously going to make your title reign feel less important. People love fighting champions and people love memorable matches. I'm not saying Becky didn't have any memorable matches during her almost 400 days as Raw Women's Champion, but at least in this period of time that I'm mentioning, it was underwhelming to see that Becky was not even defending the championship. Now, moving fast forward to 2020, where we're talking about the lack of title defenses, but in 2020, I know that Becky Lynch was only active for 4 months, but there is a big problem there, because even in these 4 months, she didn't wrestle match, and that is my point number 4, the lack of matches in 2020. During the 4 months that Becky Lynch was active as Raw Women's Champion before going out because of pregnancy, she only had 4 televised matches. So the problem this year was that Becky was not only not defending the championship, but she was barely wrestling at this point, which is such a bummer. They had Becky go out week after week just cutting promos or having a brawl, and it wasn't what people wanted to see, because Becky Lynch, with her main character, it was so over with the crowd because she was a fighting person, she was a warrior, she wanted to kick and slap heads every week. And out of nowhere, she's being like protected for management. I think they're trying to incorporate that in one of her storylines at some point, but it is what happened. She was barely wrestling. She only wrestled 4 matches, including only 2 pay-per-views that were the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. That also hurt her momentum and her hype, because it's pretty simple. If you don't wrestle, you cannot be that over with the crowd anymore. My final point, and I think this probably would be a personal one, probably some people would disagree, but I think it hurt Becky Lynch's title reign that she defeated Shayna Baszler at WrestleMania. I know, right? You're gonna tell me how a title defense is something that hurt the championship reign, but hear me out. Shayna Baszler was brought earlier this year to the main roster, and in her first match as an official member of the Raw roster, she demolished the whole Raw Women's division at Elimination Chamber. She eliminated Sarah, Ruby, Liv, Natalya, and Asuka to become the #1 contender for the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania. A lot of people, including myself, didn't like that. It was like Shayna literally buried the whole Raw Women's division, but my problem with this is Shayna was an unstoppable force back then. And the fact that she wasn't able to defeat Becky, and Becky won with a roll-up to retain the championship in the biggest stage of them all, WrestleMania, hurt the whole division. Why? Because Shayna already defeated everyone in that Elimination Chamber match. So you're gonna tell me that the person that destroyed the whole women's division on Raw was not able to defeat Becky? So for that reason, Becky would be over the whole division and there were no more credible contenders after that. This was a big problem. I think it hurt the division as a whole because Becky Lynch has been champion for more than a year in that moment, so she didn't need to retain the championship at Mania. Probably it's because what the report said back then, that Vince McMahon didn't really see Shayna as a champion, and that's why they decided to make Becky retain the championship. It didn't help the division as a whole. Later on, everybody found out that she was pregnant and she had to relinquish the championship, giving it to Asuka, who won the Money in the Bank briefcase. So technically, Becky Lynch never lost the championship. But the sad part is that I think Asuka's first ever Raw title win didn't feel special either, because she was just handed the title instead of fighting for it. So this is what I mean when I say that Becky Lynch's win at WrestleMania hurt the whole division. I don't really see the point of her winning. She didn't need it. She was so over. She has been champion for a long time. So I don't think it helped anyone, not Shayna, not Becky, and not the Raw Women's division for that matter. Alright, so this is everything for this video about everything wrong with Becky Lynch Raw Women's Championship reign. I'm really happy for the response that the first video got, so that's why I decided to do a second one, and I even let you decide the topic of it in my main channel, Alexis Jurani, so thank you very much for that. And also, tell me in the comments what's your opinion about this title reign. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Do you agree with my points or not? All the opinions are welcome, but always with respect. Please remember that. So I'm gonna let you know now that I'm gonna use this beautiful silver crown for the whole series of Everything Wrong With. You will tell me, what do you think? Do you prefer the gold one or the silver one? And once again, thank you for your support. I mean, this would be one of the final videos of the year. We're more than 300 right now. I'm still in disbelief. This is so awesome, and I can't believe how amazing you are with all the comments and all the likes that you give me, because it really motivates me to continue making content for you. My name is Alexis, as you already know. Here's my Instagram if you want to talk to me or something, and I will see you guys next week. Stay safe, and this kiss is for all of you.